Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, children of the sun and the soil, good evening. If ever there was a question carved deep into the wood of a soul, if ever there was a question with roots so tangled in the heart that it resists simple answers, it is this one. What did God see in you that He made you the chosen one? Pause with me now. Don't just hear that question. Feel it. Let it settle like dust on your shoulders, like light filtered through the fingers of time. What did He see? Not what your resume boasts, not what your mirror reflects, not what your critics have named you, nor what your silence has cost you. No, I am asking you to peer past the stories you were told, and the ones you told yourself. I'm asking you to meet yourself as God might, without pretense, without title, without fear. I'm asking you to see what He saw when He called you. There are some truths that are too large for facts. They are worn in the soul. They're truths you don't learn, you remember. God in His infinite mystery does not choose as the world chooses. He doesn't flip through credentials or survey public opinion. No, He peers through bone and breath, down into the place where your spirit wrestles in the dark. And there, right there, He finds the spark that makes you undeniable. You were not chosen because you were perfect. You were not chosen because you were ready. You were not chosen because the crowd agreed, or chosen because you are necessary. I want you to hold that word in your mouth like a warm stone. Necessary. You are not extra. You are not decoration. You are not someone's afterthought or some cosmic coincidence. God saw in you the echo of creation, the very rhythm of resurrection. He saw that you, even in your trembling, would stand. Even in your weeping, you would rise. Even in your loneliness, you would speak. And speak you must. See, this world is heavy with noise. It hums with distraction. It pulses with disconnection. And in all that chaos, it is easy, so very easy, to believe that you are just another shadow, that you alone are powerless to change anything at all. But hear me, when God makes a choice, it is no accident. You are not a placeholder in someone else's story. You are the story, and He wrote it with His breath. So ask yourself, what is it about you that made the Almighty lean in and whisper, that one, yes, that one. Perhaps He saw in you a fire that would not burn others but warm them, a flame that would light paths and soften cold hands. Perhaps He saw that you are a gatherer of the broken, a mender of dreams, a keeper of wisdom passed down through kitchen tables and silent prayers. Maybe He looked and saw you wrestling with doubt yet refusing to bow. Maybe He watched you carry burdens you never chose, burdens that tried to bend your back but did not bend your soul. Maybe He saw your silence not as weakness but as listening, and in that stillness He saw a deep knowing, one the world needs now more than ever. We live in a time when people mistake volume for truth. They equate flash with faith. But God's choosing does not require applause. It requires availability. It requires surrender. It requires a heart cracked open enough for Him to pour Himself into. And some of you, yes, some of you have been cracked by life, cracked by loss, cracked by betrayal, by injustice, by love that left too soon or never fully arrived. And still here you are, listening, breathing, hoping. That, my dear, is divine. You see, there are people in this room right now who have been passed over, overlooked and underestimated. Some of you were told you weren't enough. Some of you were told you were too much, and you carried those words like chains. But God, oh God, He saw past all that noise. He saw not what the world saw. He saw purpose, potential, promise. Do you know what it is to be chosen? It is not comfort. It is not ease. It is not fame, nor even clarity. To be chosen is to be called into the wilderness with nothing but a word and a whisper. It is to be asked to trust when the path is covered in fog. It is to be sent to speak when your voice still shakes. It is to be told to build before the rain comes, and to dance before the victory. And yet, you go. You go because something in you remembers what He saw. You go because obedience is not about understanding, it is about presence. You go because somehow you know that even in your confusion, He is close. Now some of you are here because life has demanded you answer to roles: professional, parent, leader, follower, artist, advocate, student, survivor. You wear those titles like armor or perhaps like chains. But underneath all of that, underneath the labels and the labor, is someone God set apart. When He chose you, He chose the whole of you. The parts you celebrate and the parts you hide. He chose your contradictions, your questions, your culture, your cadence. He chose your scars and your songs. And every day you wake up and choose to rise, you affirm His decision. So now the question is not what He saw but what you see. Do you see yourself as chosen? Not in arrogance but in assurance. Not in pride but in purpose. Do you see yourself as someone who can carry vision? Someone who can birth ideas, lift others, hold space for pain, and still believe in joy? Because the world needs you too. Let me speak plainly, there are children watching. They are watching to see what integrity looks like, what courage sounds like. They are watching you to know if kindness is still a currency. They are watching to learn how to survive without losing softness. And they will not believe your sermons if they cannot feel your soul. So you must walk like someone who knows they've been sent. Talk like someone who has seen the mountaintop and the valley and kept going. Work like someone who believes that excellence is a form of worship. Love like someone who knows that forgiveness is not weakness but divine strength. Now I know there are days when the choosing feels like a burden, when being set apart feels more like being set aside, when the cost of obedience feels too high, when you wonder if perhaps the calling was meant for someone else, someone bolder, someone brighter. But He does not make mistakes. And even when you fumble, He does not revoke what He's placed in you. He doesn't change His mind about your worth. He doesn't rescind His grace. His choosing is not dependent on your performance. It is anchored in His promise. So walk tall, my brothers. Walk rooted, my sister. For the choosing is not about being above others. It's about being among them with holy intention. It's about using what you've been given to lift what's been forgotten. It's about knowing that your presence is part of someone else's answer. When God chose you, He wasn't just choosing you for you, He's choosing you for those who would come after you. For those who would never have a voice unless you used yours. For those who would never see light unless you let yours shine without apology. This choosing is legacy. It is lineage. It is not an accident, it is a continuation. Someone prayed for you long before you were born. Someone cried out for freedom, for justice, for truth, and their prayer became your presence. Don't waste it. Use it. Use your gifts. Use your insight. Use your creativity. Use your platform. Use your compassion. Don't wait for permission. You've already been called. And when the nights get long and your path feels lonely, and you question if any of this matters, remember this: God saw something in you that the world could not explain, and He chose you anyway. He saw you in your mother's womb, saw the curl of your spine and the beat of your heart. He saw your doubts before you spoke them. He saw your mistakes before you made them. He saw your resilience before you needed it. And He said, yes, yes, this one will carry the light. So do not shrink. Do not quiet your voice to make others comfortable. Do not water yourself down to fit in fragile spaces. You were not made to blend in. You were made to bloom. And when you bloom, others will remember they can too. You are a chosen one, not because you have all the answers, but because you are willing to keep asking the right questions. Not because you never fail, but because you keep standing. Not because you are fearless, but because you are faithful. So go ahead, chosen one. Walk like your ancestors paid for your passage. Speak like heaven listens. Love like the world depends on it, because it does. And when someone asks you, what did God see in you that He made you the chosen one? You look them in the eye with all the humility and heat of someone who has walked through fire and still smells of hope. And you say, He saw all of me, and He loved me still. He saw my light buried in layers of silence and chose to wait until I found it. He saw not just who I was, but who I could become if I trusted Him. And I do. That is enough. That is everything. Not as those who seek to impress, but as those who dare to express fully, truthfully and unflinchingly, the sacred burden of being seen by God and chosen nonetheless. You see, the choosing does not come with a map. It comes with a mantle. And mantles, my dear ones, are not worn like ornaments. They are carried. They are not just for show. They offer service. And service, real service, costs something. When God chooses you, He doesn't simply call you forward. He calls you deeper, into mystery, into faith, into the hard work of loving people who may never love you back, into telling the truth in rooms where it is not welcome, into sowing seeds in soil that others have abandoned, into standing in the gaps left by generations of pain and saying, "No more, not on my watch." What He saw in you was not just potential, it was capacity. He saw that you could hold pain without turning bitter, that you could hold power without becoming cruel, that you could be trusted with vision, not just for your life, but for lives tethered to yours by history, by struggle, by shared breath. He saw the nights you didn't cry but should have. He saw the moments you kept showing up, not because you were strong, but because you made a quiet agreement with grace. He saw the poetry in your perseverance. He saw how your silence had volume, how your presence had peace, and so He chose you. Don't mistake the choosing for a crown. It is not about ruling, it is about remembering. Remembering who you are when no one is watching. Remembering that love is never wasted. That justice is worth the risk. That humility is strength with its shoes off. That truth may tremble but it does not break. What God saw in you, beloved, was a soul willing to wrestle. And in the wrestling He knew you would rise with a limp but also with a testimony. For the chosen are not untouched. They are not protected from the storm, they are prepared within it. They are shaped by waiting, sculpted by unanswered questions, honed by disappointment and fueled by the fire that keeps burning when logic says it should not. That fire, it is holy. Do not be ashamed of your passion, your ache, your longing to see the world better than it is. Do not shrink because your dreams scare others. Do not reduce your calling to fit into containers made by people who never imagined your kind of light. Let your light be unruly. Let it spill. Let it flood. Let it drench the tired places and awaken what has been asleep in others. You chosen one are not meant to play small. You are not meant to disappear behind systems that never saw you. You are not meant to apologize for the gift of being. You are meant to disrupt the silence, to disturb the status quo, to sing the songs of the unseen, and make beauty from brokenness. And yet in all your becoming, remember, being chosen is not a pedestal, it's a path. And this path will test you. It will test your ability to forgive when it makes no sense. It will test your endurance when the promise seems delayed. It will test your character when no one is clapping. It will ask you to lead while still healing, to give while still grieving, to believe when hope feels like a rumor. But you will not walk alone. You walk with ancestors whose prayers still echo. You walk with the whispers of women who endured and dared to sing anyway. You walk with the strength of men who kept their integrity when everything tried to strip it from them. You walk with every child who watches you and learns what possibility looks like in flesh. And most of all, you walk with the one who chose you. He does not abandon what He anoints. He does not select and then forget. His choosing is not a single moment, it is a relationship, a covenant, a daily invitation to step into more truth, more grace, more love, and you will falter. Yes, you will. You will question if you heard Him right. You will look at the size of the work in front of you and tremble. You will doubt your own strength, your own voice, your own worthiness. But hear me, none of that disqualifies you. God's choosing is not based on your feelings. It's based on His foresight. He sees the end from the beginning. He knows what lives you will touch, what chains you will break, what laughter you will return to people who forgot how to smile, what dignity you will restore to the ignored, what songs you will write with your life, songs that make others remember their own names. So you must be careful with this choosing, not cautious, but reverent. Handle it like sacred ground, because that is what it is. Not all will understand your path. Not all will affirm your calling, but that is not your burden. Your burden is to stay faithful. Your burden is to show up when it matters most, to speak when silence would be easier, to extend your hand even when yours is trembling. Do not compare your choosing to someone else's. We all carry different assignments, but the same flame. What burns in you may not burn in another, but that does not make it less divine. Trust the shape of your fire. Trust the tempo of your journey. Trust the particular way that God moves through you. Because the world is not waiting for a copy of someone else. It is waiting for you, all of you, your accent, your upbringing, your contradictions, your convictions, your laughter, your lament, your lineage, your love. Don't underestimate how revolutionary it is to live fully when the world asks you to perform. Don't underestimate the holy defiance of joy in a time of despair. Don't underestimate what it means to choose compassion again and again in a culture of cruelty. You were not chosen to win accolades. You were chosen to remind us what humanity looks like when divinity breathes through it. And that, my friend, is no small thing. So let us not grow weary in well-doing. Let us not forget that the choosing is not just about individual glory, but collective healing. When you say yes to your calling, you are saying yes on behalf of those who could not. You are saying yes for communities that were silenced, for dreams deferred, for gifts buried beneath the rubble of survival. You are saying yes for the child in you who once believed in the impossible and dares to believe again. Let that child lead sometime. Let their wonder guide you when the road gets dark. Let their innocence remind you that goodness is still possible. Let the light in you be stubborn. There will be days when you wonder if your work matters, if your voice carries, if your love makes a dent. There will be days when it seems like the world would go on just the same without you. Do not believe that lie. The truth is, you matter more than you know. The very act of standing in your truth alters the fabric of reality. The very act of showing up in rooms that were not designed for your presence shakes the ground beneath injustice. The very act of loving well even when no one is watching ripples across generations. What did God see in you that He made you the chosen one? He saw the bridge between what was and what could be. He saw the story that would unlock other stories, the tears that would water dead things, the hands that would heal, the mind that would imagine, the heart that would hold, the life that would testify, not with perfection but with persistence. So go forward, chosen one. Go with boldness, but not arrogance. Go with clarity, even when the map is unclear. Go with the weight of heaven at your back and the wind of your ancestors at your side. Let your yes be loud. Let your no be sacred. Let your steps be rooted. Let your soul remain open. Be fierce. Be gentle. Be true. Because when you walk in the fullness of your choosing, you don't just change your life, you change the atmosphere. You call forth others into their light. You stir sleeping gifts. You awaken dormant dream. You help the world remember what it forgot. That love is still the most powerful force we know. And you, yes, you are its vessel. So may your days be drenched in purpose. May your nights be held in peace. May your journey be guided by a grace that never runs out. And may your legacy be not just what you build, but who you become. Let your life be a gospel. Let your breath be a benediction. Let your choosing be a doorway to the divine. And when all is said and done, and your name is whispered in rooms you'll never enter, let them say, she answered the call. He honored the light. They lived chosen, and made others believe they were too. And let me say now, if the world has tried to convince you that being chosen is about being elevated above others, it has told you only a fraction of the truth. Being chosen is not about standing above the crowd. It is about kneeling beneath the weight of love. It is about walking among the people, barefoot with dust on your feet and compassion in your voice. It is about recognizing the sacred in the mundane, the holy in the hardship, the divine in the daily. The work of the chosen one is often quiet. It happens in kitchens and classrooms, in corners and corridors, in hospital rooms and back office. It happens in commutes, in conversations, in caregiving. You may never get a standing ovation, but heaven stands each time you show up with integrity. God saw in you a steward, not just of talent, but of time, not just of influence, but of intimacy, of honesty, of empathy. He saw that you would care deeply in a world that often teaches numbness. He saw that your heart, though bruised, would remain soft, and soft hearts are rare. They are miracles in motion. Do not harden yours to fit into a world afraid of tenderness. Hold your softness like strength, because it is And yes, your choosing may isolate you at times. You will find that not everyone will clap when you are called. There will be those who question why you, why not them, why not someone more polished, more predictable, more palatable. But know this, the approval of the crowd is not the confirmation of your calling, and envy, even when dressed in smiles, cannot dim what God has already lit. You were not chosen to be liked. You were chosen to be light, and light, real light, exposes as much as it illuminates. It will make others uncomfortable. It will call things out. It will demand truth. That is part of the assignment. But the same light that reveals wounds can also heal them. The same light that confronts can also comfort. You are that kind of light, a healing, disruptive, unrelenting presence in a world that needs more truth tellers, more heart holders, more bridge builders. So let us talk plainly about courage. It is not the absence of fear. It is walking forward in the presence of it. Courage is answering the call when your voice still cracks. It is writing the vision when the ink of doubt runs deep. It is offering forgiveness when revenge would be easier. It is choosing to remain human in a world that profits from dehumanization. You were chosen because you carry that kind of courage, not loud, not boastful, but deeply rooted. The kind that listens before it speaks. The kind that apologizes when it's wrong. The kind that admits it doesn't know everything, but is willing to learn, to grow, to evolve. And your evolution is part of your choosing. You are not meant to stay the same. You are meant to unfold like petals in slow bloom. You are meant to stretch beyond your limitations, to shed what no longer serves, to grieve the versions of yourself you've outgrown. Some will mourn who you were because they cannot yet understand who you're becoming. That's all right. Love them anyway, but do not go back to make them comfortable. The calling is forward. God saw in you a holy adaptability, a resilience that bends but does not break, a spirit willing to rise again and again, even when rising feels like betrayal to your weariness. He saw you falling and choosing to rise anyway. He saw the strength it took for you to love after heartbreak, to dream after disappointment, to trust after betrayal. And he said, that one, let your healing be loud, let your boundaries be sacred, let your presence be prayer. For some, your life will be the first sermon they ever hear. For others, it will be the only one they believe. And the message is not perfection. It is possibility. It is grace. It is redemption. That no matter the cracks in your story, light still gets through. That you are evidence that God still calls imperfect people to do divine things. Now listen, there is no blueprint for your calling. You may not see examples around you. You may be the first in your family, the first in your community, the first in your circle to step into the unknown, and that can be terrifying. But remember, pioneers walk through wilderness so that others may one day walk through gardens. Your choosing has generational weight. When you say yes to growth, you break cycles. When you say yes to healing, you uproot what trauma tried to plant. When you say yes to joy, you reclaim territory that pain tried to own. And joy, real joy, is revolutionary. It is resistance. It is resurrection. It is the sound of chains breaking. And maybe no one told you this, but let me be the one. Your joy matters. It matters not just as a reward, but as a rhythm. You were not chosen to simply endure. You were chosen to live, to laugh, to love without condition, to rest without guilt, to dance without explanation, to thrive, not in spite of the call, but because of it. And yes, you will face opposition. Every calling attracts conflict. Every choosing stirs something in the atmosphere. Because your light will trigger what has been hiding in the shadows. Do not let that scare you. You are not called to destroy, but to reveal. You are not called to dominate, but to liberate. And liberation begins within. It begins with freeing yourself from the need to be understood by everyone, from the pressure to prove your worth, from the fear of taking up space, from the guilt of outgrowing people, places, and patterns. Freedom starts when you accept that God did not choose a version of you. He chose you fully, authentically, unapologetically, and that choosing does not expire. You are not less chosen when you are tired. You are not less chosen when you are confused. You are not less chosen when you fail. The call is not revoked by your humanity. It is fulfilled through it. God did not choose you in spite of your flaws. He chose you with them, because in your cracks His glory shines brighter. So tell your story, even the parts that still tremble on your tongue. Tell it not for attention, but for connection, for someone else is waiting to hear that it's possible to survive, to hope, to rebuild. Your scars may be someone else's roadmap. Your resilience may be their revelation. You are not here by accident. You are not here because you are lucky. You are here because someone needed what you carry. Someone needed your particular mix of wisdom and warmth. Someone needed your humor, your insight, your stubborn belief that things can be better, that people can change, that love does win. You were chosen not only for what you can do but for what you can be, a presence, a sanctuary, a reminder that the divine still moves through ordinary people, in ordinary moments, doing extraordinary things. Let the work you do be infused with spirit. Whether you are teaching, building, writing, parenting, planting, serving, let it be sacred, let it be honest, let it be drenched in the belief that what you do matters. And when you reach the end of a day and wonder if you've done enough, let this truth settle into your bones. Showing up as your full self was always the assignment. Let us not get so consumed with the performance of being chosen that we forget the purpose of it. It's not about spectacle, it's about service. It's about sacrifice. It's about showing others that you don't need perfection to be powerful. You don't need applause to be impactful. You don't need fame to be faithful. You only need the willingness to say, "Yes, Lord, here I am. Use me to heal, to challenge, to uplift, to bridge, to create, to carry, to spark, to protect, to preserve, to build, to bless. Use me," and He will. He already has. You are the result of that prayer. And so let us end as we began, not with answers but with awe. Let us not rush past the mystery. Let us sit in it. Let us marvel at the audacity of being chosen by a God who knows us intimately and loves us infinitely. Let us remember that each day is another chance to live in alignment with that calling, to be true, to be tender, to be brave, to be fully alive. And when the winds rise and the world shakes and your strength feels small, may you still hear that whisper, "You are mine, I chose you," and may you respond with a quiet fire in your chest and a steady light in your eyes. I am still here, I am still willing, I am still chosen. And because you are still here, because you continue to rise even when the ground beneath you trembles, know that your very breath is a testimony. Know that your walk, weary though it may be, echoes with divine rhythm. There is something sacred about endurance that does not shout, but simply remains. Something holy about waking up each morning, choosing to try again when giving up might feel easier. The world has never lacked talent, but it has often lacked tenderness. It has been full of noise but void of true listening. You were chosen not just to add more sound, but to bring a stillness that speaks, to bring a presence that holds space for truth, to bring a kind of leadership that does not lead by force but by faithfulness. You were chosen because your presence makes people remember their own humanity. You are the mirror someone else needs, the kind of mirror that doesn't distort, but reflects the light they forgot they had. You are the answer to someone's prayer, and not because you have it all together, but because you dared to show up anyway. In your unfinishedness, in your questions, in your stretching, that is what makes you powerful. Not your certainty, but your sincerity. There is a myth we must lay to rest, that you must wait until you are whole to begin. That you must have all the pieces in place before you can matter. No, you were chosen while you were still learning, still falling, still figuring it out, because the choosing is not about arrival. It is about willingness. A willing heart is more powerful than a perfect plan. God knew the mess you would have to navigate. He knew the losses that would gut you, the betrayals that would nearly break you, the doubts that would make your faith feel like a thread unraveling. And yet He looked at you and said, "Still you," not instead of, not in spite of, but because of. Because of your capacity to bend without breaking. Because of your refusal to let bitterness win. Because of your ability to carry what others dropped. And if no one has said this to you lately, let me be the one to say it clearly. You are doing holy work. Whether it's visible or hidden, glamorous or gritty, lauded or overlooked, you are part of something sacred. Whether you are raising children or raising consciousness, writing policy or writing poems, mending hearts or mending systems, your work is worthy, your labor is not in vain. You are the evidence that divinity and dust can coexist, that greatness does not always look like grand stages, but often looks like quiet courage, like choosing peace over pride, like answering the phone when someone needs to cry, like speaking life when gossip would be easier, like being kind when the world gives you reasons not to be. And because of you, someone will believe in miracles again. Not because you performed one, but because you are one. Your survival is a miracle. Your joy after everything you've endured is a miracle. Your tenderness after being mishandled is a miracle. You are living proof that what was meant to harm you cannot halt the divine within you. So take heart, chosen one. This journey will demand everything from you. It will ask for your ego, your comfort, your need to be understood. It will stretch you until the skin of your former self feels too tight. But in the stretching you will grow. In the surrendering you will rise. Not in shame, but in power. Not in fear, but in fullness. And as you rise, remember to reach. Reach for those coming behind you. Reach for the ones who are still hiding. Reach for the dreamers whose fire has dimmed. Be a lighthouse, not just a lamp. Shine not only for yourself, but for the ones still learning they are worthy of light. This is legacy, not what you build with your hands, but what you cultivate with your heart. Legacy is what lives in others because of how you lived, because of how you chose to forgive, because of how you chose to try, because of how you chose to love, when it would have been easier to close your heart and turn away. Let the world remember you not for your accolades, but for your alignment, not for your performance, but for your presence. Let them say you were a resting place for weary souls, a voice of clarity in chaotic times, a keeper of compassion, a steward of sacred space. And do not be afraid when the weight of it all feels too much. There will be days you doubt the calling, days you question the purpose, days you feel the ache of being unseen. But hold this truth: the eyes of the world may miss you, but the eyes of God never do. He sees it all. Every small act of courage, every quiet no, every late night prayer, every withheld judgment, every time you held your tongue to keep the peace, every time you spoke truth even when your voice trembled. He saw the tears you wiped alone, the nights you wrestled with the unknown, the mornings you got up again and again with a heart not fully healed, but wholly committed. And it is that kind of heart that changes the world.